Hey Thumpers, welcome to another movie review from Hyper RPG. We are here to do a spoiler review of Marvel's Spider-Man Homecoming, the 6th Spider-Man movie since 2002.
Yep.
Directed by John Watts, who did Clown and Cop Car.
If you haven't seen those, go watch them
Absolutely.
immediately.
I haven't yet.
And the
this-
16th
Yes.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Is it the 16th? Wow.
Yeah,
That's
12
crazy.
was Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2,
Yeah,
Spidey.
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
cow.
13, 14, 15, 16th
This
movie.
this has been very interesting. This has been something that's been rumored and discussed for a couple years now. When we first had all those Sony leaks and hacks that Sony was talking to Marvel about potentially bringing Spider-Man back to the MCU.
You
I had
remember
no
that
idea,
video
dude.
where we freaked out?
Yeah.
I had no idea
Spider-Man
this
party?
would ever happen.
Yeah,
It's so
no,
crazy.
No.
And now this is a joint venture of Sony and Marvel. Marvel producing this movie, making it happen. Kevin Feige with Amy Pascal, and we did a non-spoiler review. If you haven't seen the movie, check out the non-spoiler review that Augustine and I did. It's been getting a lot of feedback, a lot of really cool feedback from a lot of people. People talking about the movie, being respectful, not spoiling it in the comments. Thank you guys so much. But this
Now
is
let's
going to
spoil
be
it. Let's spoil it.
the spoiler review. We've got our
Full
good
spoiler.
friend Hector Navarro is here.
Oh,
Probably
my
the
God.
biggest Spider-Man fan that I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, suck a duck, Zach. Go suck a duck's butt.
It's funny because now, like, the studio's empty. We're here shooting this, and everyone is now watching Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh, is that where they are?
Yeah, everyone's watching the movie. So I'm curious to
okay.
see what a
Yeah,
lot of
we're
those
Home
people are
Alone.
going to think. Yeah.
We're Home Alone right
Home
now.
Alone. Home Alone. So let's get your initial reactions, Hector.
Yeah.
What did you think about this movie, and kind of what were your expectations going into it? Were you hoping that you were going to see certain things, or were you kind of really letting Marvel Studios take the reins on this and let
First
them
of
kind of do
all-
what they want to do?
First of all, so many surprises.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm bringing baggage to this movie. We all are. Of
Everybody
course,
is,
I'm
yeah.
bringing a love that I've had for this character for 25 years, since I was 4 years old, 3 years old. Of course, I'm bringing that. So I have expectations. I have certain things that I'm lining up in my brain. I'll give you an example. Right at the end, when Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, almost died, and Peter was like, "I'm trying to save you." I thought, "Oh my God, they're gonna do it again. They're gonna kill a bad guy. They're gonna kill the Vulture. Sony's going to kill another bad guy. Sony has killed every bad guy basically in every Spider-Man movie up to this point." And I was like, no.
Except for the Sandman.
And I went, but Michael Keaton is so effing good. At this point, he won me over like in the opening
Oh, yeah,
scene.
absolutely.
And we'll get to that in a second. But by the end, I was like, no, please don't kill him off. Please don't kill him off. And then they didn't. And I went, thank God that they're maybe trying to save the potential to do the Sinister Six. Because in my brain, I was already like, well, the Sinister Six, you need a Vulture. You can't do it without a Vulture.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
already, and again, all 2 seconds, I'm like, well, oh, shit. All right, fine. If they kill Adrian Toomes, maybe we could get Blackie Drago, the second Vulture. Or maybe we could get, the new Vulture, that one kid with the red. I'm like, okay, maybe we could get a Sinister Six with a different
This
like,
is all happening while he's
like
watching the
in
movie.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Simultaneously.
So I'm bringing baggage, and I had expectations, and I think that overall, I'll tell you what I was disappointed with, but I'll tell you what blew me out of the water. I was disappointed with, I think I wanted more emotion, more of like an epic
interesting.
emotional moment, because I have been rewatching all the other Spidey movies, which are in different universes and they don't count. And for all of those movies, all the problems that those movies have, the Raimi trilogy and the web movies, and I find problems in both. And there's obviously things that I love in both. Like there's things that I love in each one of those movies. Probably except Spider-Man 3 is honestly a real bummer. Rewatching it, guys, rewatching it. It's not what this review's about, but I was just like, wow, they missed the mark on this
So
character.
much.
He's such a jerk. He
So
kisses
much.
he kisses Gwen Stacy in front of MJ. Like all
Yeah.
this stuff where I was
Yeah.
just like, whoa, Peter, what are
Yeah.
you? But you get to this movie, and to me, there was one moment that was close to that, but I think I wanted more of that epic emotional thing that I felt in, like, again, Emma Stone's death in Amazing Spider-Man 2. That movie full of problems, but that end, I'm like, that works for me.
Absolutely.
You
that
know,
worked 100%.
certain things like that work for me. But then, so that was like my disappointment in Spider-Man Homecoming. But the trade-off is, and the thing I did not expect was, to me, how well they earned Spider-Man being Spider-Man on his own. To me, they earned it. And I was, after seeing the trailers, I was kind of piecing two and two together, and I'm like, I think he's going to get his suit taken away. I think he's going to show up in the third act with his homemade suit, and I think he's going to do it without any help, because that's how Spider-Man is. I love that he's a kid. I love that he's a part of the Marvel Universe. He is finally home, and the universe is a little bit more complete. We still need the X-Men. We still need the Fantastic Four. We still need Namor the Submariner. We still need Blade. We still need certain guys to show up. We still need this Spider-Man to interact with the Kingpin. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want that.
Absolutely.
But we're getting closer, and it feels better. And the fact that, here's what it reminded me of. Star Trek, the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek. Young Captain Kirk. By the end of that film, he's in the captain's chair. And to me, they earned it. But to Star Trek fans, a lot of criticism came out. He didn't earn it. He didn't go through the things that the original Kirk did and blah, blah, blah. So at the beginning of the second movie, they took it away. And I was like, nah, y'all shouldn't have done this. Y'all should have stuck to your guns. Do you know what I mean? But like, it was an attempt for them to sort of backtrack and concede to that point and then go from there.
Okay.
Cut to Marvel Civil War, Captain America Civil War, and Peter Parker's flipping up in there, and Iron Man just recruits him, and it's like, you're on the squad. And he shows up in the lineup, and he's there, and he's got the suit, and it's full on. I don't know if the criticisms were, well, he didn't earn that Spider-Man didn't go through trials and tribulations or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's what criticisms were, but I think that this was Marvel's attempt to go, you know, okay, we know this character. We know what makes him work.
Yeah.
And we're going to give him all these toys in the beginning, but he's going to be frustrated that Iron Man is in his movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, we hear you, but he's a part of this universe. But he's going to be frustrated that he can't grow out of the shadow of these characters, which is something that is kind of a part of those early Spider-Man comics, Ultimate Spider-Man. That thing about this teenager version of the character is there. In the very first issue of Amazing Spider-Man in 1963, he shows up to the Fantastic Four's headquarters because he wants a job. Because those heroes are superheroes. The Fantastic Four, they're rich, they're famous, they're celebrities, they use their public identity, and Peter's like, that's what I need to go to. If Spider-Man were as confident as people think he is, and he's not, because he tries. He's a guy who tries and fails and tries and fails and tries and fails. If he were as confident as Iron Man or Batman, he would be like, nah, I don't need to interact with anybody and be in his own comic for forever. But he's not. He is insecure as hell. He sees these heroes. Before Captain America came back from being frozen, his Uncle Ben would tell him about Captain America, the legend of World War II. You know what I mean? Like, he idolized this man when he was 5. And now, and you know, people were looking at it and scoffing at it, but the fact that he shows up in Iron Man 2, the fact that Marvel's now retroactively saying, yeah, that little kid in Iron Man 2 that goes like this, and Iron Man jumps down, nice job, kid, and flies away. They're saying, yeah, that's Peter Parker. And it's like, that's a great moment, because holy shit, imagine if it is for a second. He's 10 years old or something. He's, you know, when did that happen? 2010? Yeah. So if he's 15 now, he's 7 when that happened, 7, 8 years old. That would change your life forever.
Absolutely.
And somebody, you know, some person put this on Tumblr, the shot from the trailer, and it's in the movie. I just wanted to be like you. And you cut back to him literally doing that, and then Tony Stark saying, I wanted you to be better. And then Tony and all of his failures and his flaws, and he's like, don't be Iron Man, be better. And this is it worked for Tony's character too, for him to be like a father figure character. So in summation, for how I feel about this movie, so much potential. I loved it. It's definitely my favorite Spider-Man movie. I don't know if it's the best standalone Spider-Man movie. It feels like an episode, but like, holy shit, do I want to see the next episode now?
Hell yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
hell yes.
I think if this one is Batman Begins, the next one could be The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and just bring in that emotion.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Because Vulture's a great villain, but you've got, who are the villains left before they start to recycle? You've got Kraven the Hunter, who I think is who I would pick, because Kraven's fucked up and awesome.
Yeah.
And then you've got
Scorpion,
Matt Gargan, right?
Got the Shocker.
A great
Still have the
threat.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Still have the Shocker. Shocker's still there. Obviously, the Vulture's still there. The remainder of the Sinister Six are, so you have the Vulture, then you've got not the Shocker, but you've got Electro, Sandman, Dr. Octopus, Mysterio, Kraven the Hunter. I don't want to see Mysterio. You can replace him with somebody else.
So replace him with Rhino.
Maybe the Chameleon, maybe the Rhino. But like, once you start recycling, I want to see them recycle. The same way Christopher Nolan was like, no, let me do the Joker. And he wasn't afraid of it, at least not in the second movie. The first movie, he's like, I'm not doing the Joker. You got to do a new villain. Ra's al Ghul, Scarecrow, fine. But the second movie, they're like, we're going to do the Joker, and we're going to make you forget about Jack Nicholson. I want the next Spider-Man movie, or the one after, whatever they decide to do. If you're doing Norman Osborn, make us forget about Willem Dafoe. If you're doing Otto Octavius, make us forget about Alfred Molina. And I don't think it's that hard to do. The casting has been phenomenal. The writing could be top-notch. My favorite part of the movie is Michael Keaton as the Vulture.
Absolutely.
Blown away by him. And I'm like, he's one of my favorite villains, and I love this version of the Vulture. This is my favorite version of the Vulture. I love it, love it, love it. I did not see the fucking twist coming.
Dude.
It's great.
I have issues with that.
During that twist, the whole theater went, like, you could hear the audible gasp, but we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
So, just like I was going to say, the opening scene, Michael Keaton, picking up in 2012, after the Avengers fight, and I was like, God, I fucking love this. I was already like so on board, like, this is so smart. This is such a great way to do it. And as soon as they introduce these characters, I'm like, are they S.H.I.E.L.D.? And they wear damage control? They
Yeah.
put damage control in a movie.
Yeah.
Damage control. That,
Yeah.
like the Dwayne McDuffie created, and they credited Dwayne, the late great Dwayne McDuffie, who created damage control. The group of people that are basically contractors, and they clean up rubble, and they based in New York.
They clean up the mess. Yeah.
That was gonna maybe be a show, and maybe not now.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be a show, and now I'm like, are the movie people stealing show stuff the same way that the show people are like, well, we're gonna do Inhumans? Like,
Right.
I don't know if they're getting along, but in any
I
case,
don't know. That's a whole nother episode.
damage control, and then it was like 8 years later, and it's like, cool, now we're, I
That was
love
the only
that
thing
stuff.
that I had an issue with. That was I was always under the impression that the Marvel movies took place in real time.
Yeah, the
So-
timeline's a little wonky.
So it was weird because it goes 2012, then 8 years later, I'm like 2020. What?
Yeah.
Where's where are
Yeah.
all the other years going?
I think that 2012 actually happened in like 2009.
Yeah. Or
I-
I mean,
I
if you're going
think-
by if you're going by Happy, like 8 years would have been the beginning of Iron Man.
Because Iron Man happened in 2008, and Jon Favreau says it. I've been holding on to this ring since 2008.
Right.
Great. Iron Man and Iron Man 2 happened 6 months apart, and then
Okay.
Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor
that's true,
all happened
yeah.
in the same week, and it happens like a year or a few months before the Avengers. So all of
Okay.
the Phase 1
I guess
movies
you
are
look at
like,
it that.
they're all like
Yeah.
within like a year of each other,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of like a year and a half of each other. So all of Phase 1, which was up through 2012.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you can start, I think, spacing out the movies at whatever point you get to Captain America Civil War, which came out last year. The Vision says, ever since you've been as a superhero for the past 8 years. Like, he says it. It's like, okay, so the beginning was 2008, and now we're in 2016. So time has progressed, but it just means that some of the Marvel movies are scooched up a little closer to 08.
true,
Yeah. So
that's
they're not
true,
in
yeah.
actual time.
it's
So
still a
that,
little
so that
wonky.
makes that does make sense
Yeah.
then, because the beginning of Homecoming takes place during that first Avengers movie, and then we see Spider-Man get that suit
8 years later
Right,
to
right,
Civil War,
right,
and then
yeah.
now it's, and this movie probably doesn't take place in 2017. It probably
Probably
takes
not.
place in 2016 after Civil War.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes place before Doctor Strange. Maybe it
Yeah,
takes
could be
place,
true.
and we know Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 are both in 2014.
Yeah.
They're 2 months apart.
That's true.
So
That's
so
true.
it's a little wonky, but
Yeah.
somebody just made a really good Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline that's like interactive, and you
Oh,
can
yeah?
find it
Oh,
online.
really?
If you go to
Interesting.
Slash Film on their little superhero bits, you can pull it up, and it goes all the way back to like Odin shows up in Norway
that's cool.
in 4000.
we need to
BC or
explore
whatever.
that just to
Yeah.
get our shit straight
dope.
because
It's dope.
I'm so confused.
So yeah. So anyway, I mean, I dug it. I want to go see it again. So many great Easter eggs. Easily the funniest Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Not the most emotional,
Uh-huh.
but it's potential. It's laying the
Yeah.
groundwork.
Yeah.
He's 15.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I think
We
that's
got years.
I think that's what sets it apart from the other Spider-Man movies is the for me, like, kind of the theme or the message of the movie is about acceptance and growing into manhood. And I think that's what set this movie so much apart from the other Spider-Man movies. The original Raimi movies, they kind of gloss over his high school years.
Yeah.
He's in it for half of the movie, then he's going to go off into college. Kind of the same thing with the Andrew Garfield
because they're played by
movies.
older actors
Exactly.
that are not in
Right.
high school.
This is the one. This is finally the Spider-Man series that I think that they've said that every movie will take place in a different year of his high school
Yeah,
career. So
that's
he'll be a
awesome.
sophomore,
Junior,
sophomore, junior,
and then
senior, and then since they did say they were going to do 5 movies, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
then you could do the first 2 years of his college.
That's great.
Experience, and maybe I don't know if they kill him, they bring in
Yeah.
Miles Morales,
man.
whatever they end up doing. But I think when you approach this movie from that sort of perspective of we're going to make him young and we're going to keep him there,
yeah.
you don't necessarily have to do it that way where it's less emotion, more humor, but I think to introduce this character to a new audience or an audience who's been experiencing the other 5 movies, you need to do it different enough
Yeah.
where you can look at
Yeah.
these movies and look at them differently.
Absolutely.
That Raimi Spider-Man was very much a product of the 60s. Then you have Mark Webb Spider-Man, and then you have this one. And they really, really play with the youthfulness of the character. And
Yeah.
I think you need
Yeah.
that. I think if he's a high school student, I mean, you look back at your own high school experience, and it is all the things that I saw in this movie.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's tragic, it's dramatic, and it's awkward and it's uncomfortable, and it's also can be kind of heroic at times.
Right.
And I feel like they did a pretty good job at incorporating all those things.
Yeah.
And like you were saying earlier, this movie is very much small scale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's
Absolutely.
more of like I think the other Spider-Man movies have also been very personal, but this one is personal in a very small, kind of contained way.
The old
where-
ones always end with
Right.
like, it's personal to Peter, but Dr. Octopus is going to destroy the planet
Exactly.
or destroy New
Right.
York, and
or Green
Electro
Goblin
is
is
going
trying to
New
like
York.
destroy,
The
know,
lizard-
like the
all
whole
these
city, like
the whole city's
every
about to be turned into
something. Yeah.
lizards.
Exactly.
It's like,
And-
yeah.
And what I love about this is the fact that it's not about that. It's not about Vulture wanting to destroy the city. It's about Vulture wanting to assume ultimate power because that power will generate him wealth, which in turn will generate wealth for his family.
Right.
And that's what's important to him. It's his family. He doesn't care about anything else. It's just about being able to put a roof over his family's head.
Yep.
And I think that's such a nice contrast to Spider-Man because Spider-Man is all about helping the little guy.
It's about responsibility.
It's all about responsibility.
And
It's all about
Adrian
helping the
Toomes
little guy.
wasn't being responsible. I think one of the things in the movie, and I hopefully I'll pick up on it more with a second, third viewing, is like they make Adrian so sympathetic. They make Michael Keaton so sympathetic, where
especially
you're
in
just
the beginning.
You're like, damn, dude, he got screwed over. Like, wow, yeah. And then like when he even says he accidentally killed that guy, I thought this was the anti-gravity gun. Even then, you're like, oh, he's not all the way a bad guy.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He's just in like a dicey situation. But by the end of the film, I think that it's clear that Peter's way is correct and Adrian's is wrong. That Peter's, even if you have the potential to do this stuff, you got to be responsible for your family. And he wasn't being responsible. He's being reckless. What if he did get arrested and now his family had to move to Oregon and now he's in jail?
Yeah.
So it's the thing of like, you got to do the right thing. And when Peter walks into that homecoming dance and says, I'm sorry, I got to go. You don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Like, that's Peter. And he does it. And Peter does the same thing. He echoes that sentiment at the end when he rejects Avengers membership. And to me, I'm like, that's so Spider-Man. I want him to purposefully be this poor guy. He could be running the world. He could be up there rubbing shoulders with Iron Man and maybe Captain America once they're cool and whatever. But he's like, no, I'm going to be low to the ground.
Right.
Because he's looking out for his aunt. Because he's looking out for, his friends, Ned, all these people.
Yeah.
So, that stuff really panned out.
That's the other thing I really want to touch on that I really liked about this movie is his friendship with Ned.
So good.
He acts like sometimes we could have acted as a kid, like forget about your friends over a girl or forget about your friends over something and really been a dick about it. But at the end, he fully embraces the friendship and everything that Ned can offer. And it just makes Ned's life absolutely because he gets to be the guy in the chair.
Yeah.
What are you
He
doing?
gets to be the bug in his ear.
Watching porn.
Watching
So
porn.
funny.
Come on. I
So
think
funny.
it's as much as Ned is as a sidekick, I wouldn't really call him a sidekick because he plays a big role in this movie.
I would say he's a sidekick in the most complimentary way possible.
Absolutely.
Because
Like,
he is a support system.
he is basically the support system that in the end, without Ned, we would have seen Spider-Man die in the bus yard,
Yeah.
Like he would have absolutely
That's
been
true.
gone.
That's
And I like how they reference that later, like towards the end of the
Yeah.
movie. But it's something that we haven't really seen before is Peter Parker connect with another guy. Like he's always been pining over the girl and it's all about MJ.
And then
it's all
for
about his
Harry
girlfriends.
Osborn, it's always like a tragic friendship.
Exactly.
With your friend the bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
great.
like, come on, guys. But he was able to build just a dude friendship, which is great. And that's what really struck me that they did really well in this movie because I believed it 100%.
Yeah.
I
Because
felt
we've all
like,
had that sort of a friend who's always got your back.
Yeah, like when he was in the bed wearing the Spider-Man suit.
so
If I was Spider-Man, I would totally let my friends wear my Spider-Man hood.
You got to take him web slinging, dude. You
Yeah,
got to take
I
him
know.
web slinging.
I would strap
If
him on
any
like
of
a
y'all-
backpack and just
Yes.
like, go around.
Like
If y'all
Yoda.
had powers, I'd be
Yeah.
like, you're taking me web slinging.
Exactly.
'Cause
Yeah,
we're bros.
exactly. It'd be
Yeah.
like, this is happening right now.
Yeah.
In the comic
But-
books, Ned Leeds, it turns out to be a character named the Hobgoblin. He turns out to be one of the guys who is
Oh, the
manipulated by
Hobgoblin.
Roderick Kingsley, who was like the original Hobgoblin, who again, kind of like Adrian Toomes, steals a bunch of shit from Norman Osborn, dresses up like the Goblin. Ned Leeds ends up becoming a reporter, an investigative reporter. I don't think they're going to go down that path because this
don't
Ned
think so.
Leeds is basically Ganke from the Ultimate Spider-Man series, which I'm a little heartbroken about because I'm like, well, now Miles Morales will never have that
Right.
sort of Brian Michael Bendis like best friend, which is so good in the comic books, but Peter has it and it's awesome, and that
exactly.
character's awesome.
Exactly.
And just to go back to your point a little bit about the emotion, the epic scale, like I'm kind of looking at it like if they're really planning to do 5 with Peter or Miles or whatever, the 5th Harry Potter movie had higher stakes than the first one.
Absolutely.
Year 1 was like a kids movie. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
And
like
as the movies
introducing you to Hogwarts.
as the movies went on, and you were like, "That's
It got
cool."
darker,
It got darker. It got more intense. It got life or death stakes. It got like epic. And I have a feeling that you could go to those places with Spider-Man.
Yeah, you
but
can.
his beginnings feel like
earn it.
this. His beginnings are very high school and they're very like
there's,
wish
I mean,
fulfillment.
even though there are things at stake, it's not like he's been in it for years and people are trying to figure out who his aunt is
Right.
and where he's
Yeah.
living and all. It's just
Not
like
yet.
Exactly. It's very bare bones because nobody really knows who he is.
Yep.
He's just like, I'm starting out. This is fresh. This is new.
Dude,
he doesn't have a lot at stake.
What'd you guys think of that moment where the Vulture figures it out, where Adrian Toomes is in the car,
dude,
and fucking figures it out? I was so stressed.
It's probably.
I was stressed out.
I will say, like, there are a lot of scenes in Marvel movies that I think are done really, really well, but I think that scene, because of you have these two characters on these two opposite spectrums, and as you watch the movie, their paths slowly start to get closer and closer and closer, and then they converge in that one scene. And it is very stressful. It's very chaotic. You see the conversation he's having with Liz, and they keep cutting back to Michael Keaton, and he's slowly realizing, like, he's putting two and two together, and he's like, this is coincidence, this and this. Like, oh my God, this is Spider-Man.
And the scene before that was
intense.
played for laughs when he has a knife, and he's asking him stuff, like, what do you think? What are you going to do, Peter? And he's just so freaked out.
And Peter
like,
cannot get his shit together.
Yeah, he's like,
I like the
right
fact that they played Peter as like, he cannot control himself.
Yeah.
He's about to go on this date with this hot girl, and he just can't stop staring at this dude who almost killed him.
Yeah.
It makes sense, because anybody would act that way.
And especially because of his age, because he's so young, and he's so, like, still trying to figure everything out. He doesn't know how to control it.
Right. And then in the car,
Yeah.
The way that the scene was shot, it was incredible, because you got this creepiness out of his eyes, and just like the shiftiness out of his eyes. And then when he figures out that Peter Parker, like they're at a red light, and when he figures out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, green light turns on. I'm like, oh fuck, he just found out. And I like that they didn't play the Vulture as an idiot. You know, like this guy's absolutely smart, and he's gonna put the dots together like quick.
Very quick.
And that's
Honey,
what
go
he
ahead
did
and go
in
inside.
that
I'm
scene.
gonna give him the dad
And
talk.
then he
And
pulls
I'm
the
like,
fucking gun
gun.
out.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I will kill you dead.
The,
I was like,
whoa! The atmosphere in that whole scene is probably one of the most tense, even though it's not like the most things are at stake. It's one of the most tense I've seen in any superhero movie.
Well, and I think
at this point.
also what it does so well is it shows you the depth, the lengths that they are willing to go with the Spider-Man movies, because that's a very with a movie that scene is very much surrounded by these like big and funny and sort of light and uplifting scenes. But then you have this really dark moment that Spider-Man crosses. And it shows you kind of where they're really, really willing to go with that character, and how dark they're willing to let the situations kind of go, because that's a very dark and terrifying scene.
It was
and even the way it's shot, because like the camera starts to move closer and closer, and it gets tighter
where
and
you're
tighter.
uncomfortably close to his face,
and you're seeing like this whole thing unfold, and you're like, oh,
you see his eyes kind of shifting and like connecting the dots, and you're just like,
it's very
no,
uncomfortable.
don't find out now.
And I think that's a huge testament to how well Michael Keaton plays Vulture, and even how well Tom Holland reacts to him in that scene. It's really well directed.
And John Watt, like, go watch Clown. You guys haven't seen Clown yet.
No.
Movie is scary. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, he's putting in a little bit of his horror movie like shooting and visual effects on that. Like I said, that was one of the greatest scenes I've seen in any superhero movie, because you really feel like the Vulture can fuck some shit up. Or like he's that determined that he will probably shoot Peter Parker in the face if he could have at that point.
Yeah, and I think the scene is even more effective because this Peter is so young. If it was an older actor in his mid-20s,
Tobey Maguire, I wouldn't
I'd be
feel
like,
that
kick his ass. I'd be like, he's
like
your age, like
grown man fight. No, it's not a grown man fight.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So about the twist.
Okay, we're gonna go in the twist. Okay, let's go in the
twist.
twist.
Here's what I'll say. Before I went and saw the movie, Mark Millar, comic book writer, said that he went with like his 8-year-old daughter or something, and then afterwards, this is now her favorite movie. Yeah. She's obsessed with Spider-Man, which he's so excited about. But he said that she was 8 or maybe has a 6-year-old kid or something, that when the twist happened, I read this tweet without knowing what the twist was. He said that his daughter stood up, turned around and was like, this isn't good for anybody. Like, so stressed out. Like, oh no. Like when you open the door, you know.
It's like the new generation's version of Luke, I am your father. Kind
of
and with not as many stakes, but you know.
I read the tweet and I was like, that's hilarious. You know, a little kid reacting. And then when I saw the movie and that happened, I went, oh, this is the moment. And I could picture a little kid standing up like, oh no. Like, because it was so, I didn't see it coming. And it's classic Spider-Man stuff. You know, his people in his social circle always end up being related kind of to villains, and it's soap opera. You know, it's
Absolutely.
dun, dun, dun.
It was soap
It's
opera
great.
because everybody in the theater gasped
Yeah.
at that point. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, even I gasped. Like when I gasped, I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, everybody else.
It
feels
took
the
me a
same
second.
way.
I was like, oh no, he knows who he is and he's in
Yeah.
her house.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
I'm such a racist. That's her dad. Like she's obviously like she's mixed race. Like oh, that makes sense. You know,
It
and then her
makes
mom
sense
shows
because
out.
you're
Yeah.
like, how does a 16-year-old kid have a party this huge?
Yeah.
Where they were
With
calling
the
Peter
money.
Penis Parker.
So great.
I was like, you have a DJ and like he's
Yeah.
talking shit about people, but it's
Yeah.
okay at your party. You must be rich. But yeah,
So
so you had an issue with that, Adam.
Well, because the whole time that they were promoting this movie, they kept saying that Laura
Liz
Harrier was
Allen.
playing Liz Allen.
Yeah, man.
His name is Adrian Toombs. They don't ever
Say her last name in the
address it
movie.
or
Yeah.
explain it. So I'm like,
interesting.
so is she Liz Allen or is she Liz Toombs? Is it? It's the
I
same
need to
character,
double
guess?
check the credits at the end. I didn't see her name.
Yeah.
But on IMDb, she's listed as just Liz.
Gotcha.
That's what she's listed.
Yeah,
as.
So
she's
and it
just
was a
listed
red
as
herring,
Liz,
bro.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like Michelle, we all knew she's gonna be MJ.
Yeah,
and she said
absolutely.
MJ, and I was stoked. I loved it. I loved it.
I don't care for it. To be completely honest with
what?
you.
I don't think it's as important as people built it up to be
Yeah.
beforehand. You know how there was so much anger and hype
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just I think they played it smart though and just downplaying it and be like, yeah, I mean, whatever.
Instead of
doesn't
it
matter.
being a she's all that
Yeah.
scenario like we
Yeah.
talked about, where like, oh, she's gonna show up and Zendaya's gonna look Zendaya
Yeah.
gorgeous, and it's like Michelle was gorgeous. She was
Yeah.
really pretty, but she was so funny and so cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Seemed like she did come from a broken home, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh snap, that could be Mary Jane, that could be MJ.
That is
And then
MJ.
she said it, and I was like, great. Keep being in these movies. We're never gonna see Liz again. She moved to Oregon.
Yeah.
Right.
We're probably gonna see her in the same way that we saw Natalie Portman in the first Avengers movie, where Coulson was like, "Here's a picture of Natalie Portman. She's
Right.
safe," you know, because she
Right.
wasn't in that movie. Like, she's off in Oregon, and she did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, cool. Now the next movie is either going to be MJ romance or another high school kid. Betty
I thought
Brant.
Zendaya was great as Michelle.
Yeah.
But for me, it kind of felt like when J.J. Abrams kept denying that Benedict Cumberbatch was Khan.
Sure.
That whole thing of like, not
Yeah.
Khan, not Khan. He's John
Yeah,
Harrison,
yeah.
John Harrison, not MJ, not MJ, Michelle, Michelle.
Yeah.
And then like, oh,
I'm MJ.
my friends call me MJ. And like this whole movie we've been building up, I don't have any friends. It's like, did we just put that in there for the sake of like putting
Sure.
it in there, or does it actually have like is she really Mary Jane? Like,
Right,
I don't know.
right.
To me, it just kind of felt like it was in there just for the sake of
Just to
like
add on.
addressing it to the
Yeah,
fans,
yeah.
and not really actually giving it any sort of context
Yeah.
or like
A
oomph.
reason for it.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say, to their defense,
But I liked her character. Like, I want to see more of her
yes.
character.
Compared to Khan, the Khan reveal,
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch just says, "My name is Khan,"
Yeah.
and the audience is supposed to react. But Kirk's like, "I don't know who that is,"
Yeah.
because he doesn't know who that is. He doesn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
context. To the defense of the script of Spider-Man: Homecoming, she does say after who was it? Ned says like, "I thought you didn't have any friends," and she's like, "I didn't." And it's really cheesy, and she's
Right.
saying like, "You guys are my friends now."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
could that have been played up a little bit? Yes. You know, she was kind of basically a background character.
Yeah.
Who was a really funny background character, but
She's great.
she didn't have a moment of like, I'm not saying maybe let her know that he's Spider-Man, but
she knows.
they did hint at that.
I think she knows.
So it's like that's interesting too, because again,
Where you
that
going, Peter?
That goes to the
Never mind, I
comics.
don't care. Go.
Yeah.
That goes to the
exactly.
comics. Mary Jane knew years before, and then years later it was revealed like, I've known the whole time, Peter.
Yeah.
Well, after he told her, you know, and she was like,
Yeah.
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to fall for you, but I did. I knew you
Yeah.
were like fucking dangerous or whatever. So
Yeah.
Going back to what you were
yeah.
saying about the emotion of the movie, I do feel like it has less of an emotional impact on the way that I think the old movies does. And
because
I'm-
there's no Uncle Ben moment. There's no
Yes.
heart to heart with Aunt May, really.
Right.
There's no, you know.
there's hints towards it.
Yes.
He talks when he's talking to Ned. We get little hints of the backstory. I was bitten by a spider, all this kind of stuff, and he mentions that he doesn't want to put his aunt through more than she's already been put
Yes.
through.
Yes.
And then in Civil War, he has a really great monologue where he's talking to Tony Stark
So great.
about
When you can do the things you can do, and
exactly.
you don't do those
and
things.
to me,
people get
that is
hurt.
the scene that really echoes what Uncle Ben used to always
Yeah.
tell him. And I know it's something that some people have been saying that Spider-Man's origin is so good and it's such a pivotal part of who he is
Right.
that it felt like they needed to see it, or that the movie should have had it, because 20 years from now, if somebody were to just pick up this movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming, and just watch it without seeing the rest of the Marvel universe, they don't really have enough context as to why are you the way you are.
Sure.
Which is a totally fair and valid point. I feel like because we are in this expanded, ginormous universe,
Yeah.
I think it definitely will be something that will be addressed in Spider-Man 2,
Yeah.
especially because now Aunt May knows that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
I think
calling
that's
it-
I
going to
think
be
they'll
a
have that
huge
heart-to-heart.
crux of the movie.
yeah, I agree.
To your point, like if somebody was gonna pick this up in 20 years and not know anything, I have a feeling that if anybody looks into Spider-Man and be like, oh, I'm gonna watch Homecoming, you're gonna have access to information and be like, oh, this is part of a whole separate
Sure.
thing. So
there were Spider-Man movies that came before
yeah,
this.
exactly.
Oh,
And
there was.
You might be confused as to which one you want to watch.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that I see that argument where some people feel like you need to have it, but at this point, you have to.
We're not in a
play it.
vacuum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're not in a vacuum. You have
You
to
know.
play it for now. You know,
Yeah.
like
But-
we're all jaded on seeing
Sure.
Uncle Ben
But
die.
did they miss an opportunity to bring in that emotion? Did they miss an opportunity
I
to
don't
have a
think so.
flashback? Did they, or is that
I don't
something?
think so.
It's too early to say because we haven't seen the sequel yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
well,
you're
yeah.
saying, Adam. Like they could bring that in the next one. Aunt May knows. I think they should get somebody like Tom Hanks to play Uncle Ben because Tom Hanks is America's dad.
Yeah.
And you could see
Somebody
him,
threw out
you
Kyle
know,
Chandler, and I really liked that.
Kyle
Chandler.
Chandler, Uncle Ben. Yeah, him and Marissa Tomei are hot. That's a hot couple right there. That's hottie toddy, Uncle Ben and Aunt May.
Hottie-totty
But again,
couple.
Kyle Chandler doing a speech to Peter,
Yeah.
and
I can totally picture it.
they got to do it now because Tom Holland's not getting any younger. He's,
Right,
hopefully he's
right.
going to stay looking the same size and age
They'll,
and
do it.
face.
They'll get reference footage from The Impossible, that movie he did in 2012,
Yeah, and use
make
that.
him young.
Yeah,
Make him 12 or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, but it's like, but that movie again, it's not really going for that kind of stuff.
Right.
Right.
And I'm liking it to Harry Potter, and we don't live in a vacuum, and they've had 5 other movies, and
Right.
they were trying so hard to make it different, and they
Yes.
succeeded. And I think a part of that was like, well, we can't do.
They had to make some sacrifices.
They had to make. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They had to make some
Absolutely.
sacrifices.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you guys 100% on all that. Now, the one point that I want to talk about is the moment with Donald Glover in the
Yes.
parking lot.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Where he drops that juicy little line.
I don't want these weapons in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
I got a nephew. I got a nephew who lives
Aaron
here.
Davis,
Oh,
the Prowler,
oh!
little Miles Morales action.
I'm so excited.
What do we
I'm
think
so
of
excited.
this?
Well-
Instantly, I thought Miles Morales.
I mean, it's
of
Miles.
course.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
Miles.
Morales.
It's 100%
Absolutely.
confirmed. It's Miles. Yeah.
Because Aaron Davis is Miles Morales' mother's brother, right?
I think so.
I
The
think he's
point
the
is
mother's
that
brother.
in Miles Morales' storyline, his uncle Aaron is the Prowler. That's his uncle, who's a thief. But and again, in the scene earlier, oh, you got like rock climbing stuff, like climbing stuff, like because he's like the Prowler. That's the
Yeah.
type of guy he is.
Yeah.
He's not like a big guns guy. He doesn't want
Right.
to, And that lined up really beautiful. And Donald Glover's perfect to play that character, the cool uncle. Can you imagine being the nephew to that guy?
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
I would wanna
Even if
hang
he
out-
wasn't rich, I would want Donald Glover to be my uncle.
Come on, man. Absolutely. I know.
Yeah, like I just want him
So-
to be my uncle.
That's such a great setup. I want
Yeah.
Marvel to just do Miles' story now. But I'm like, but wait.
But no,
But we got Peter. We got years of
we
Peter.
got such a good Peter,
and I
right
want
now.
Peter to die. But
Yeah.
wait, I love Tom Holland and I want him to do
Yeah.
6 movies, but I also want him to die. I want them to do a movie called The Death of Spider-Man that comes out.
Yeah.
And people are like, what? Are they serious? And the trailer sets it up and you go
Yep.
to see the movie and everybody tears.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Miles shows up like, oh, I missed it. I feel responsible.
And I think
This
that's
is my Uncle
I
Ben
think that's why
moment.
they're saying 5 movies, because if it's
Yeah.
true, if they end up really doing 5 movies, which
Yeah.
they don't have to, if they do 3 movies that are in his high school year, sophomore, junior, senior,
And then college.
2 years of college, and then at the end of that 5th movie, he dies, and Miles Morales takes over as Spider-Man. I love
such a
that.
good run.
And honestly, even Sony is a company that has kind of done wrong by Spider-Man the last few movies. But I think because of this collaboration with Marvel Studios, because of Kevin Feige's sort of looking at things and making sure that even though he's not focused on what's going to happen 5-10 years from now, he wants to leave opportunities open.
You
So
know
to
they got a
bring in the
plan.
Prowler,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
even the Prowler, to just bring in that character, Aaron Davis, and to just mention a nephew, that's enough that even if they never addressed it, which I'm sure they will, but even if they never addressed it, there still is that hope that Miles Morales will at some point show up in the Spider-Man universe. I think that's really cool.
I just like that they dropped this because it lets me know that maybe Sony's taking the hint from Marvel
Yeah.
and setting up juicy little tidbits like
Yeah.
this that could lead to something or
Yeah.
could not. You know,
Yeah.
they didn't confirm anything,
Sure.
but they gave nerds like us just enough to like just chew on it a little bit
Yeah.
and be like, okay, well, let's
Same
hope
thing
they
with
do
Scorpion.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They
Yeah,
put him in the
great
movie
setup.
just enough with an actor that people know from other stuff, but you can build him in the second movie, or if you don't, you can build him in the third movie. But like they leave the opportunity open to bring these other characters
Yeah.
and to build towards the
Yeah.
Sinister Six, which Sony, that's something Sony has been wanting to do for years now.
Now
And
they
it
got
failed.
They got the right.
It failed miserably
team
in
to do it
Amazing
now.
Spider-Man 2, and now taking it one movie at a time, building up one villain by one
Yes,
villain.
that's how you do
And
it.
this movie too. I mean, this movie had 2 shockers.
Yeah.
It had
Yeah.
the Vulture. It had a pre-Prowler.
Yeah.
But it was able to balance all those characters so
Tinkerer.
well. The Tinkerer,
You know,
I
he
totally
was
forgot
in
about
it.
that.
Phineas
Tinker.
Mason. Yeah.
Exactly. But because they were able to balance everything so well, and because the spotlight was mostly on the Vulture, where it should have been, we got a really good character, a really good villain, probably one of my favorite villains, like you were saying, since Loki, probably, because he feels like a fully three-dimensional character, and he has the right motivation, and it's very personal. And
all
I think,
well earned.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes that character work so well. So I hope that we continue to get villains like this.
Michael Keaton's delivery, every line he says.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
All right. You can't just go out there.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's so great. I mean, I agree. I think it's great that they finally didn't kill a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
Because I do want to see these guys come back, and even if it's in small doses.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring them back. Why not?
I'm thinking the next one is going to be Kraven the Hunter.
I hope so.
Maybe with Vermin, maybe with Scorpion, a new version of the Lizard. Like
we also have to think about the Venom news that's been dropping too. Like,
I mean,
are they gonna dig their heels into
now it's
that
not
too,
part of the
or?
universe.
Yeah,
that's some
you
crazy
you
shit.
could tell. Kevin Feige was like, "Hey, you need to clear the record.
You need to stop
I'll clear the record. I'll talk exactly."
Yeah.
And Feige, he was a producer on those old Spider-Man movies as well. He was an executive producer along with Stan Lee on like Spider-Man 2. Like he's been in this game for a long time. That's where we got to start. That's going to be really curious to see how that works out. At this point, I don't want to see their Venom movie interact with this because I'm like, no, I'd rather see
the
this
tones
movie.
are too different.
I'd rather see this movie do a symbiote. I'd rather see Tom Holland with the black suit Spider-Man, and I'd rather see Eddie Brock show up and take the symbiote and plant those seeds.
Yeah.
And you can do it. And look at how far we've come in 9 years, from 2008 to 2017. Sony should be patient, like Captain America says. Be patient. It's not about we got to set up the Sinister Six in one movie. It's like no. Look at how many movies Marvel can bang out in a short period of time.
Yeah.
You can set up so many characters, and you need to take it easy because Spider-Man's villains are the best villains in Marvel. Hands down. Norman Osborn is the anti-Tony Stark. Norman Osborn is Lex Luthor and the Joker combined into one. He could have that potential. The way he's been written has been some of the best stuff. He could be leading S.H.I.E.L.D. He could have the Dark Avengers. He could be the Green Goblin.
He could be the leader of Hammer.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like, if you want to take advantage of that, you do it right. If you want to burn it, then you do what they did in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Harry Osborn.
Chris Cooper.
Chris Cooper.
Amazing actor.
And then kill him in one scene. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the Marvel, Sony collab, that would be amazing. I hope that collaboration leads to let's breathe and let's set this up. And, and I think that this movie is hopefully proof of that. So
if anything, just to sum it up, I feel like Spider-Man is in good hands for the time being. I don't mind that he's not only Marvel property at this point because it seems like they did take notes. They did listen to Feige. They did also kind of do their own thing. They struck a beautiful balance between two companies that potentially we never saw working together.
Yeah.
And they made a fucking great movie.
You paying attention, Fox? You taking notes, Fox? Let's get some X-Men.
I need Doom!
Are you guys sad?
I need Doom!
Your X-Men are stuck in the 90s? Okay, work with Marvel. Let's get a new Wolverine. Let's get a new class of X-Men. Let's get a new Professor X.
Doom in these movies.
Doom
and most important of all, let's get Doom. Let's get Victor Von Doom in there.
I think too. I think what the movie does so well is it gives characters great moments, and not all of them. But then what it also does is allows Spider-Man to have great moments with those characters, like the Aunt May moment. But Marissa Tomei, her screen time is pretty limited.
Yeah,
and Aunt May's screen time in most movies is pretty limited. But when she's on, she's really great. She's really fun to watch. You were mentioning
more Aunt May in the
you were mentioning that you weren't a big fan of the Spider Tech.
Yeah, let me talk about. Well, before we get into this, maybe my favorite scene is my favorite moment is the rubble when he's lifting up off the rubble.
Yep.
I for real almost choked up because I leaned forward in my seat and I was like, "This is Spider-Man. This is full on Spidey."
Like I told you earlier, I leaned to Cynthia when that part happened. And I was like, "Hector's gonna cry right now."
Come on, Peter. Come on, Peter. Switch it. Come on, Spider-Man.
Yep.
Come on, Spider-Man. And I'm like, they pulled it off. I thought that was such a great moment from a classic comic book moment. We just got to get the medicine to Aunt May, and so I love that part. But yeah, the tech, I'm split on it because Spider-Man, to me, I think is as cool of a character, as good of a character, or better than Tony Stark, than Batman, than some of our favorite superheroes that are like fantasy characters that have impossible tech. They're James Bond. If James Bond can have cool tech, Spider-Man can have, you know what I'm saying? If Iron Man can have the suit that looks like that, we live in a post-Iron Man world. This is the most leap of tech that a Spider-Man has had in a movie.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a little jarring because you've got the suits and they're just cloth, but they're really
Yeah.
they look like they're thousands of dollars in the old movies. And people were like, "Well, how did he build that?" And then they showed Andrew Garfield sewing it. Okay, cool, but still, it's a suit that's And in this one, Tony gave him the suit. It makes perfect sense, and I dig that. But the tech, the AI, I like
Lose that
Spidey.
shit.
I
Lose
like
that
Spidey
shit.
to have a little bit of tech.
Yeah.
I like him to have different kind of web shooters because he's a science, whiz, and he'll figure that shit out. I like him to have the spider tracers that he did throw on the bad guy, and I like him to have the light that shines out of the belt.
Right.
And they add stuff to him over the years. I really also like the glider thing. I like that.
I didn't like the parachute or the
Parachute
drone
I could
thing
do
that he
without
had.
because I want him to web stuff, and Droney
Right.
I could do without Droney and Karen, but then I found out Karen's voiced by Jennifer Connelly, which is so amazing. Paul Bettany, Jennifer Connelly, it's brilliant, it's perfect. But even then, I'm like, I like the scene where he's talking to Karen because he's stuck overnight.
Right.
I love that scene, and it
was a
stressed
good
me out
scene.
because I'm like, you got to get to the contest,
you gotta
Peter.
go.
But I also like Peter to just be cloth, to just be, like Tony
The
said.
dependency is on Peter.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it. And I love that moment in the trailer. And for me, it did pay off in the movie where I'm like, he did earn it. He did what I thought he was going to do. He's like, fine, then I don't want the suit. And he rejects the Iron Spider suit at the end, which I was so happy about.
Yep.
I don't want him to be fully head to toe, decked out, teched out. But I would like them to have little things here and there.
Right.
But to me, Peter is heart. He's
Right.
not necessarily like. And again, if I was a kid, I'd be freaking out. I'd be like, "This is the coolest shit ever." Because I pick up action figures when I was a kid. I'd pick them up and I'd go, "Okay, in this little belt, he's got this toy." And like my GI Joes, I planned them head to toe. I'm like, I know exactly what's on this Joe, and it's gonna help me in my adventures. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, "No, he's got a grappling hook here. He's got gas grenade pellets here." So that stuff's cool.
Yeah.
But I definitely love Peter, who is like bare bones, cloth.
Absolutely.
It's like Superman.
Yeah.
Like Superman.
It's like if you added a bunch of tech to Superman, so he was like, no, he already has all the
He
abilities
doesn't need that shit.
Yeah, I like him to have his stuff, and like Peter said in this, I can stop a bus with my bare hands. I'm
Right.
like, that's
What you want to see.
It's for me. It's also better for stories, for the drama of stories, and even sometimes when he runs out of webbing, I'm like, cool.
And-
He's
and-
poor. He is a poor kid.
We've also had some super iconic Spider-Man covers where his suit is ripped up,
Love it.
like torn apart, and like half his face is sticking out, and he doesn't care because he still has to do what he has to do. I
Yeah.
want to see a Spider-Man push to that edge.
Yes, but I
Where-
still like the eyes.
Yeah,
like
the
I
eyes
still
are
like
dope.
his suit has so grown
There
on
are
me.
elements
I love,
of it I think are really cool.
Yeah.
really
But
cool.
I don't, when Karen's trying to explain to him all the different tech that's in the suit and he unlocks the different like levels of the suit, I'm like, I could do without this. Like I'm fine with Spider-Man being a little bit more simplistic.
I agree.
I agree. yeah.
Another thing along with the suit is I feel like they overcompensated with the CG on the suit because there were some, and this is only because I worked on the movie. There was some animation that just looked really, really bad.
Yeah.
There was some moments where the compositing wasn't right, and it didn't feel natural because Tom Holland is such a gifted acrobat.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
let his performances shine
And
a
I
little
feel
bit
like
more.
they used the CG more than his own like
Exactly.
actual physical skill set.
Yeah, they used the CG a lot more than the flips and the everything that he could do. I just saw a video that showed his training regimen for the past 2 years to train for this movie, and then they cover most of it up with the CG suit.
Sure.
That's kind of, to me, I feel that's kind of
Yeah.
disrespectful to the
Yeah.
performance that,
Yeah.
that Tom Holland
There
can
was
give.
some stuff, some CG stuff I thought that was fantastic. I
Absolutely.
love the Washington Monument scene
Yes.
generally, like the jumping and
I got
I'm like
nervous because I felt like I was
ooh.
high up.
And in
Yeah,
3D, that's the scene that is like
yeah.
I was like so stoked
Yeah.
that I saw it
Yeah.
in 3D because and in fact Abby like squeezed my hand because she knows I have a fear of heights and you get such vertigo. You watch
Yeah.
it, you go.
I totally
Yeah.
did.
I was holding my
Yeah.
girlfriend's
And he's,
hand, and her
you know.
palm just instantly started sweating.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh my god, he's so high up."
Yeah, it was great. I've never been this high up. Oh, and if you don't have a parachute, Peter, so if
Yeah.
you fall, it'll probably be fatal. Yeah.
I will say that for the majority of the movie, the visual effects are probably some of the better visual effects that I've seen in a Marvel
Yeah.
Cinematic Universe
Yeah.
movie, and I don't know if that's because Sony kind of handled that. And
I don't
Sony
know.
has their
Good
own.
point. Good point.
Sony has their own VFX company. Obviously,
Sony's
they
been
farm some
animating
stuff out.
Spider-Man since 2002.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and
Like they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
but
and they farm stuff out to different companies. But yeah, it just, and also the visual kind of style and the visual look of the movie. I think the cinematography is a little different than previous Marvel Cinematic Universe
It
movies.
is.
There's a bit more contrast. Things pop a little bit better. If I look at the scenes with Spider-Man in this movie and look at the scenes of him in Civil War,
Yeah.
Civil War has a little bit more of like a neutral look. Whereas
all
this,
washed out, yeah.
yeah, this definitely has more kind of a contrast in color, and it has a little bit more of like a punch to
Well,
it.
especially the end plane fight scene where the
Yeah.
plane was covered in LEDs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
They
was
made
cool.
it look kind of psychedelic, kind of trippy with all the lights going crazy. I really enjoyed that. It was kind of chaotic, but at the same time, it really worked for me because
Yeah.
it was super visually interesting.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the music? Michael Giacchino's score.
It
That
was great.
opening,
Yeah,
that
it
opening
was
with
great.
the Marvel logo, that was really
Yeah.
cool.
I was a little bummed that they didn't include the Ramones version of Spider-Man in there, but they also included other Ramones songs. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
I'm
good,
okay
good
with that.
soundtrack. Not Guardians, good, but good
No.
soundtrack. Fits the character. I'm gonna download the score. I'm gonna listen to it on repeat. To be determined. I'll let you guys know how I overall score it because Danny Elfman's tough to beat, and I know people hated it. It's tough to beat.
Is really good.
Yeah.
But when we went from Danny Elfman Batman to Hans Zimmer Batman, they're different beasts,
Sure.
and I love them both. So
I actually think James Horner's score for Amazing Spider-Man 1 is really good.
not
too.
my favorite, but there's
Yeah.
great moments in it.
There
And
is.
I know people don't like it. I really like the Hans Zimmer crazy collaboration with Pharrell and a bunch of different people for 2.
I'm not a fan of that.
Outside of the inner monologue for Electro, but other stuff I like even just the brow, like I'm like
Yeah.
I dig a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be checking out Giacchino. He's my favorite of all time. Visual effects mostly good. Marissa Tomei, fantastic. Gwyneth Paltrow cameo, great. I was so happy that they're getting engaged. I was like,
Yeah.
cool, they're back
I
together.
think,
Good.
I think that's the one thing that I do want to mention about Iron Man, Happy Hogan,
Yeah.
Pepper Potts. And everybody knows this. I was definitely concerned about the overusage of Iron Man in this movie, and I feel like they used it perfectly.
Just
Yeah.
right.
He was
Just
used
right.
when he needed to be used,
Yeah.
and even when we see Iron Man, Tony Stark's not necessarily in the suit, and I thought
Right.
that was so great.
Right.
And I love the moment where Peter's like, "You don't even have the guts to be here," and
he
then it
just walked
opens
out.
and he
Yeah,
walks
that
out.
was a moment.
and I was like, "That's cool."
Because he was like,
cool.
because he was mad in a way that like mad I love you.
Yeah.
In a way that he was in Civil War.
In a
when
way
he-
that
when
a
he,
dad
you know,
is mad at his
a
kid.
dad
you
when he
know?
tells Cap, "You're gonna come with us because it's us," and you're just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, geez, my heart's breaking right now."
Yeah.
That was good. If they used him anymore, it would have been too much.
Yep.
Yes.
I
If they
agree.
used him any less, it would have been like, "Oh, you guys just put him in the trailer."
Exactly.
but
You put all the
but
seasons-
like,
yeah.
but it was a part of the movie.
You know what
Yeah.
shot we didn't get? That shot in the trailers where Spider-Man
Yeah.
and Iron Man are
Yeah.
swinging through the city, which is
the
great.
money shot, man.
Yeah, it
there was
great.
there was
I
an
still-
article about why, but I didn't read it because I'm like, I haven't seen the movie yet. I'll go figure out why.
It's either I haven't read it either. I think for 2 reasons: either potentially it was just for the trailer, just for a dope trailer
think so.
shot, or maybe there was an ending instead of the Aunt May reveal,
Which is the best. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
yeah,
Best.
maybe at the end of the movie,
Best.
Spider-Man or Iron Man actually shows up to recruit him for Infinity War.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for whatever the reason is, it's a great shot for the trailer. The fact that it wasn't in the movie was a little bit of a bummer, but
I'm okay.
We'll
I'm
s-
okay
but
with
yeah,
that.
But
we'll
you
see the
shouldn't
characters in
go
Infinity
into
War, so.
movies keeping track of
Right.
what's in the
Right,
trailer. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like that's on us. We're not.
Exactly.
We shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
I have one
yeah.
more question for you guys before we end. Are you concerned at all, or have any theories why we didn't see SpiderSense in this movie?
Well, so this has been a thing that's been coming up
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
And John Watts has said that he didn't necessarily want to focus on everything that the other movies have focused on.
Correct.
One of them being SpiderSense, which has always been so heavily kind of focused on in the
Slow
other
motion
movies.
CG.
Exactly.
And it's cool, but
exactly.
yeah, in every movie there's a slow motion
Yeah.
CG scene
Yeah.
where things slow
Yes,
down and like
yes.
360.
It's always been a
and-
moment. The SpiderSense has
Yeah.
always been a moment. And people maybe just forget, but we do see some form of SpiderSense in Captain America: Civil War. Especially when he's fighting against Falcon and Bucky.
That's right.
They're throwing
That's
things
right.
and throwing doors at him. He's reacting and noticing them before they even
right.
come near him. So
And
he
Ant-Man,
has a form
he
of
even
SpiderSense.
says like, guys, and then like Ant-Man punches him.
Yeah,
because he
that's
says
true.
something about
Right.
it. I think before it happens,
Yeah.
even when he's fighting the guys in the bank, the Avengers, bank robbers, he's dodging as they're
yeah. So he has a spider sense. I think that they want to stand aside and be kind of like independent of what the other movies have done. That's why they don't do things like exaggerated spider sense. Uncle Ben, great power comes great responsibility. We will get to those things. I think for them it was really important to just establish who is this Peter Parker, why is he different, who is his circle of friends. I thought their different take on Flash Thompson was really cool.
Yeah.
Him
Yeah,
being more of like a
absolutely.
cyber bully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And really, and I hope to see more of that. The physical bully, I think they could play that up, but because we have seen that in the previous
It's a good point.
iterations.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded
Very
me a
good
little bit
point.
of Power Rangers, where
Yeah.
they try to do like a modern bully, where they're like, here's a kid who's being a dick, but he's not
In
just gonna like
2017
he's
or
not
whatever
just,
year
yeah,
it
he's not
is.
just pushing him into a locker like puny Parker. It's like
Right.
okay, that's from the '60s.
Like
Nobody
an-
does
like
that
an-
anymore.
Like an '80s bad, like
People-
bully kid.
People do like, all right, when I say penis, you say Parker.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He would get ragged on
Yeah.
like that
Uh-huh.
today
Uh-huh.
by
Yeah.
this kid, and it was really funny. It was like, technically, sir, this is my dad's car. I can't, drives off and just busts into a thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was really great. I thought Tony Revolori did a great job.
I like how you could clearly tell that he could not drive that car.
Yeah, that was great.
I love that.
Because he's like, this is really the first time I've ever driven. This is a big step for me.
Again,
he's a kid.
Moments.
He's a New Yorker.
Yes.
New Yorkers don't even
They
drive.
don't drive. Yeah, exactly.
Abraham Atta, as one of the kids on the science team,
Abraham,
was so he played Abraham. He
Yeah.
played Abe. He
Who
was
we
so
thought was gonna
great,
end up
so
being Miles
cute.
Morales.
I know, but
Yeah.
I love that he was in it. He had
Yeah.
his African accent. I was
Yeah.
like,
Right.
he's
He's
so
great.
great. If you haven't seen Beasts of No Nation,
Yeah.
Oh.
Amazing in that movie.
and he steals it. He's so good.
Yeah.
But like, I was glad that he was in it.
Martin Starr was great.
Martin Starr was
Campbell
really
Buress
funny.
was hilarious.
Super funny, you know. Just in those quick little snippets.
Chris
I mean,
Evans'
just the
cameo as
kids.
Captain America was really
So
fun.
he loves doing that
loves
side.
it.
of
Oh,
Cap.
God.
It was
Yeah.
like in Thor: The Dark World where he shows up and he's
Yes.
like, "Ooh, I'm Loki," and
Yeah.
I can just feel patriotic.
John Watts said they shot
Yeah.
like 50 of those things.
Uh,
He's hoping that they can all make it
I
to the
really
Blu-ray.
hope-
I want to see that so
that
bad.
end credit scene though.
It's so great.
That end
Yeah.
credit scene is
Somebody
so,
wrote on
so
Twitter, they're
good.
like, "Can we just put that at the end of every single Marvel movie?"
Hey,
It's so
Captain
good.
America here to talk to you about patience. Like so funny.
And
It's so
sometimes
good.
when you something like about feeling dumb about waiting for so long for
Waiting,
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
exactly.
was
so great.
I think overall, I really dug this movie.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it was bold and that it did things differently than other Spider-Man movies have done, not including things that we all expected to be there, Uncle Ben, SpiderSense, all that kind of stuff, and really sprinkling in a lot of things that I think will definitely pay off in the future, especially now because Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios is involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because of things that we've seen, like that J. Michael Straczynski comic, when Kevin Feige talks about Aunt May finding out that Peter Parker and
Yeah.
Spider-Man are one and the same.
And he wanted to put that on a screen. It's like
Yes.
he did.
The death of Spider-Man, the repercussions of that, Miles Morales,
Yeah.
like all these things. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for the future of Spider-Man. Do I have some quirks about the movie? Yeah. And we've talked about
I
them
think we
here.
all do.
So the revelation of Liz Allen and Michael Keaton's character being her dad. Maybe some other things like
I wanted some of the action to be clearer.
some of the
Especially
action to
the
be clearer.
Vulture fight at the end, but maybe it's because I was sitting in the front row
Yeah.
of a 3D IMAX.
Yeah,
you know, and I was kinda
for
doing this,
us
and
the
it was a
sound
little
was
much.
kind of off, so I feel
Yeah.
like I need to watch it again because
Yeah.
I missed a lot of what Ned was saying.
Gotcha.
But maybe that was just the theater I was in.
Yeah, and
That
for me,
happens.
I think the biggest thing is the emotional impact.
Sure.
And I think
Yeah.
we will get that. And I think we
Yeah.
will get there. And I think again, they're really trying to step like they promised us a John Hughesy Spider-Man
Yeah.
movie, and I really feel
got
like it
it.
delivered. I know some of those movies can have an emotional moments, but I don't think that they're as heavy.
It's just such a different tone than
Yeah.
the other entries in
Yeah.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
This is different than Guardians of the Galaxy. This is different than Ant-Man. This is different than Captain America:
Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
And I think
This,
it's
you know,
okay.
Stands on
And
its
I think
own.
it's totally okay to say that this is more of a kids movie.
as it should
because
be.
he's
a
for
kid.
kids.
He's
Yeah,
15.
exactly.
Yeah.
He's 15 years old.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
they've got
Kid
that.
himself.
Overall, I was
You know.
really happy with this movie. I still think that maybe some of the other Spider-Man movies were technically and maybe a little better executed, but I still think that this is a fantastic Spider-Man film.
Super charming.
Really
Super great.
charming, really fun,
Yeah.
really funny. I want to see more of Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds. I want to
Yeah.
see more of some of the other supporting characters. I'm curious to see where a lot of these other characters go. Flash, Michelle. I want to see the repercussions of Aunt May finding out. There's just so much good stuff that they really tease and they really put in this movie that overall I couldn't have really asked for anything more
Yeah.
other than maybe more emotional stakes. But I feel like, again, it's a building block. We'll get there.
I feel like this is my favorite Spider-Man movie because it made me realize that the fatigue I was feeling was not because of Spider-Man himself. It was because of people not treating him with the respect he deserves.
I would
basically.
agree with that.
They put him in his place where he shines and he's shown like a motherfucker, and this movie was so awesome.
And gave him a good villain.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
like
and,
that's
like-
part of it, though. That's part of the
Yeah.
Spider-Man universe. Like Spider-Man shines because this guy's so fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm glad I was able to get over my fatigue, basically.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
this is my favorite Spider-Man so far.
Same.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to go see it again.
Yeah,
So
let's
many
go
great
watch it
Easter
again.
was
eggs,
great.
man.
Watch it
I will
again.
say there were some moments of the 3D that were wonky. There was some edging stuff, but overall, it was a really fun
What are you
3D
gonna
experience.
do? What are you gonna do?
That's
It
how it
happens.
is.
I'll do better next time, you
That's
guys.
budgets and
okay?
time for you.
I will
CBB,
do better
there's
next
CBB.
time.
Yeah,
CBB,
there's some
CBB,
CBBs
yes,
in there,
CBB.
but overall, it was a really great, really fun experience. The crowd seemed to love it. I can't wait to go watch it again. Can't wait to see what you guys think. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about Spider-Man: Homecoming. This is a spoiler review, so spoilers be damned.
Go nuts.
Go crazy.
basically
Go
spoiled the whole
crazy.
thing.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. YouTube.com/HyperRPG. Check us out. We're on Cineverse every single Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. on twitch.tv/hyperrpg. Doing trailer reactions, all kinds of stuff. Check us out on Patreon as well.
Tune in live.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next review.
What the